Welcome, episode 4 of Uncovering Joy, an interview series where I get to chat to some of my favourite humans from across the globe, unpacking and exploring the value of practice in its many and varied forms, and offering insight into how we can reclaim our innate sense of joy and access that rich and inner space of inherent wholeness. I'm completely smitten with this month's guest and super honored that he's here to join us, offering his playful and illuminating presence. So I was very blessed to call Sudhir my philosophy teacher in my first training, and he continues to be a source of wisdom and light throughout my life and a very dear, dear friend. Now, with personal mantras such as joy is your nature and smiling is your birthright, I couldn't think of a better human in which to continue this discussion around returning to truth, to that recognition that you, as you are right here, right now, you're enough. There's so much I could say about this special soul, but rather than deny you of his magic, we'll just dive straight in. Sudhir, thank you so much for being here, for offering to do this, and for sharing your wisdom and your presence and practice with us.
Thank you, Rishi. A delicious, best, and dreamy Rishi. So that is how we always remember you. Tea is delicious, dreamy, and dearest. It's such a joy for me to do this with you. It's in fact like we're going to chat. So I was more excited because I thought I can talk to you, spend some time talking to you. So that is part of the whatever you call that podcast. But basically, I am very happy being here talking to you and through you to your students and fans.
I feel the same actually, and I always, as much as I'm doing this to kind of offer space, I feel like it's almost like a selfish one because I get to talk to my favorite humans and it gives me an excuse to catch up. So again, I'm really grateful. And I thought we'd just dive straight into it. I know many people who might watch will already know you, but for those that don't, just some insight into how you were moved to explore spiritual practice. Like, what was the catalyst to look into yoga or to look into this kind of these bigger questions around life, and where did it lead you?
Yeah, for those who may know me, so it may be a bit of a repetition. I'll try to be minimum in being biographical, but for me, I was a normal person, an ambitious person, wanted to make money, get success in the career, move up in the ladder. That was my typical ambition. And then also driven by the ambitions of my parents, probably, because I became an engineer. Maybe it was not my choice, but in India, it was only there are 2 or 3 professions which are considered as professions, being an engineer, doctor, or a lawyer. If we happen to become an engineer, mechanical engineer, then I didn't stop there. I did my master's also in quality management, and then joined the industry, working and trying to grow in that, and also wanted to make more money. So naturally went into financial management and wanted to go into industrial finance and all such things. And that was the time I was into yoga. That was one lucky thing. But I came into yoga for health reasons because I found a couple of my colleagues got a lot of benefit from yoga in the form of their hyperacidity getting reduced and all that. I thought, why, this is interesting. So I came into yoga because I was somehow interested in meditation and also interested in reading a lot of spiritual things. Why I'm saying reading, I was not taking it too seriously. I was a voracious reader, so I was reading a lot of things and like a thinking person asking questions, but it was not really, I wasn't feeling what I was reading or what I was thinking. But that was the time when my mother suddenly died of heart attack. She was only 63 or 64 at the time. And that brought in a lot of changes for me because a lot of existential questions came to me. Even when her dead body was there, I started having questions like what has left that body, what is still there, because it was looking as if she was sleeping. That was very overwhelming for me because I was thinking that I'll also die one day without understanding what this is. Has she come from somewhere and has she gone somewhere? These type of questions were rising when the body was there in front. So that afterwards sort of became very overpowering and overwhelming for me. So I couldn't continue with my job for long. 1 year I continued somehow, pushed myself through because somehow from the beginning I'm a bit slow coach. I don't act quickly. I take my time to act. So after 1 year, I thought this is too much. I cannot continue anymore. I wanted to pursue these questions full time, and got some suggestions from people because I was wandering now and then, taking leave, and I met a couple of monks who said that why don't you pursue them full time? Why are you going halfway? That really brought in a click for me that, oh, why I didn't get this idea of jumping in. So I decided to jump into the unknown. I was very idealistic in my pursuit. In the books, it is told that if you want to pursue these questions, if you want to become a monk, you should renounce everything. So I decided to renounce my job and all my savings. I dispersed all my savings, and then I joined a monastery, Hindu monastery. So that is how, for me, the change happened with sorrow. Because when my mother died, it was also, I was sad for many months. The pain used to be very gripping. And that is when actually I understood a little bit about the feeling of heart. Because I used to feel as if someone is squeezing my heart. So I was wondering, there is physically, there is nothing, but there was a feeling of like, like wringing a wet towel, how you feel. That type of a feeling used to be there in the heart. So, so I decided to pursue. So I entered into it, and I luckily, by what I call is grace of the universal intelligence, I never looked back. Much later, after 20 years, once my brother asked me, did I ever regret my decision? Did I ever think of going back to my decision? Then, when he asked me that question, then I sat for 5 minutes thinking, did I ever regret? Not even once. That was lucky for me. Not even once I felt that what did I do with myself. So that was one. I'm lucky in that sense. So it's already more than 25 years I'm into this.
Mm. I think that's amazing, and I love that it was something, those sometimes I feel like it's those hardest moments where we're challenged to feel so much that can spark us on this journey. Um, and I also resonate with the feeling that you've never looked back. I feel the same. I I don't know why I came to yoga, but I was like, you're slow. I was looking at yoga and trainings for like 4 years before I actually came and did one. It was just this thing in the back of my mind. Um, and so I recognize that wanting to wait for a while first, or holding on to something longer when you need to let go. Um, and so on this kind of idea of never looking back, I feel like, especially for those who are just dipping their toes into practice and waiting to maybe take the bigger leap in whatever way that might look like, because it's different for all of us. It's not always renouncing everything, but it's just kind of offering yourself completely to the practice or to living life fully. And so what is it about yoga, meditation, whatever forms of practice you've embraced, exploring that spiritual path? Why do you think it's necessary, or what do you think it affords us in life? And if someone is dipping their toes in, what could you offer to them, and why you feel like you've never had to look back?
Um, for me, the practice, initially I used to think practice is most important. Because I was there in this monastery for a couple of years, and I was doing my meditation and a bit of yoga. and doing a lot of surveys, because this organization we do need to do a lot of work in the form of offering as a service. But I was not happy because I didn't have answers to most of my questions. And there they were asking us to just read some books and then continue the practice. But when I left that monastery and ended up somewhere else in Rishikesh, so first it was almost 2 years. And then I ended up in Rishikesh. So initially also I used to think of practice, because when I went to this one ashram where I wanted to stay there and asked for accommodation and all, then the teacher there asked me that, are you interested in studying? I said, what study? Then he said, then what do you want to do? I said, I want to realize God. I want enlightenment, something like that. I still remember. And then he just laughed. He just smiled actually, and said that, okay, stay here for a few days and then see for yourself. So at that time, for me, study was, I was thinking that I studied everything. I read already a lot of books, so I don't need to study anything. I was thinking of only practice. But after staying there for some time, I started understanding that knowledge and practice, they go hand in hand. So they are like two wings of the bird. They both are needed. One strengthens the other. That's what I started feeling, because one of my teacher, our main teacher, Swami Dayananda, he used to tell that if you are only practicing without knowing what you are practicing, then he used to make a little bit of a joke. He used to say that if you are disturbed and stupid, if you start meditating, you will be quiet stupid. So he used to say that meditation definitely will quieten you, but your stupidity won't go away. Something like that. So what he meant was that the clarity and the direction are essential also. This is one thing I found in the path of spirituality in the last 25 years. A lot of people, there is no depth of practice. They are practicing a lot, but somehow they miss on the aspect of clarity. And they think that they know already. So they are starting from the premise that I already know, and then they are practicing without knowing. So this is where I remember the statement of Buddha. Buddha says that if someone doesn't know and knows that he doesn't know, he is wise. But someone doesn't know and thinks that he knows, he is stupid. So he is a fool indeed, like that he says. So that is a very risky aspect. Some people, they just dip in their toes, they don't take in a jump. And everyone doesn't need to take a jump into these things. But personally, I feel whatever people are doing, they should do them passionately. And also, we do need definitely an amount of grace or luck or something you call it, for people to be explorative in nature. So whatever they are doing, if they want to do business, let them explore, let them try, take some risks and all that. So every field has risks and returns, and we should be ready for anything when we are jumping in. So the day I took the decision, I thought, if I gain something, fine. If I don't gain, no problem. I won't really lose anything, because this is an explorative process. So I was more like explorative in this process. So that's how I could take that jump in and enjoy the process. I was not really looking forward for something. I never really felt bad that, oh, I am not yet enlightened and all that type of stuff. No, there is no pressure of enlightenment at all. I used to have it when I didn't understand what it was. Once I understood, then the process is beautiful. We know that we are growing. Let it take its own time. So for people who are doing whatever they are doing, I would like to say one thing, that people have to ask question like, what is the purpose and meaning of life? Because after all, we are living. If we are living, then should we not ask some basic questions about the purpose and meaning of life, and what is my true nature and things like that. rather than getting continuously carried away only with the day-to-day mundane things. Day-to-day things are there and we get carried away by them. The time flies, and by the time they want to ask some questions, that is, we will be too old to ask. Because uh, the capacity of the brain definitely will go down as we progress in age. Whether we like it or not, after 60, 65, and all, definitely that is not the time to start spirituality. The time to start spirituality is when we are young. When we are young only, because the young people, they have the brain which can work very effectively, efficiently, and can try to connect things and ask challenging questions, difficult questions, face difficult situations. But once we become old in the body, the mind also will reduce its capacity in terms of the, because so many memories are filled, and also there is some sort of a fixation of ideas, beliefs, values. It's not so easy to be flexible, because one of the greatest teachers, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he was the teacher of Swami Vivekananda. So he used to encourage young people so much. I used to wonder at the time. He was never bothered about the elderly. He used to catch hold of young people and used to teach all these type of things and used to encourage them to meditate and practice and all that. The reason was that when you catch them young, just the way they do in all the sports and everything, catch them young, as they say. So the same thing here also. When people are young, they can ask these questions. That is the right time to start looking into life, and then the priorities will be redefined, and then there will be a qualitative shift in the life. That is what I believe. If someone wants to have a shift in their inner environment in terms of that type of a quality of experiencing inner joy, they need to ask questions. If someone wants to make a lot of money and have big cars and big bungalows or villas and all, let them have them. But then what will be their inner environment? Someone can say that I want both. If you want both, then sufficient, whatever we want, we need to give time to it. Because the time and energy are limited, and we need to focus on that. For example, if I want to make more money, I will be focusing only on making money, and then I have no time to ask right questions and look into them and try to get those answers. So we need to balance it. And so I say that people, if they're serious about the quality of life, if they want to understand about suffering, if they want to understand how to experience uh, joy, which is our innate nature, and be in touch with it, even in difficult situations, even in a grave situation, even in a situation of calamity, if someone can be in touch with their inner core and maintain peace and balance, then what more one really wants. So if they are interested in that, then this is for them. If someone says, "This I'm not interested in it," no problem. Please go ahead. We have no pressure to convert anyone.
I love that so much. It's true. And I think actually that speaks to something really important. Even if we're passionate, it's never to force someone into that viewpoint, it's just an invitation. And you touched on something that's been really important, at least in my own journey, and it's this idea of um, like both the wisdom or the knowledge and the practice together. And I definitely early on was kind of physical body, and it was much more about the practice, and I was missing that element of truly understanding the wisdom behind the practice, or like why I was practicing in the first place. Not because the wisdom wasn't there, like you scratch on the surface, and I was so body focused that it was hard to kind of bring my attention to it. But it is in the marriage of those two things that practice and the philosophy and the teachings truly come alive. I think it's where we get to kind of breathe life into it. um, and then you ask those bigger questions, because practice and the knowledge becomes about exploring life and exploring who you are within that life. So if people were to listen, if you were to offer, what do you think the most important questions are to ask or to explore if we are moving towards a again, reclaiming that sense of joy or inner peace, and accessing it in a way that it can coexist with the full spectrum of emotions and experiences of life. What are the first maybe few questions we might want to dive into?
First thing is, people should spend at least some time asking questions like, what is that really I want in life? If people don't spend any time in asking that question and looking for an answer from within, then they are just being carried away by the society, by the media, by others' interests. So it's like I'm working on something for 10 years without really knowing that I don't want it. After working for 10 years, I realized what the hell I did with my 10 years of life. So it is something like that. When I look around, I see this aspect a lot. A lot of people are pursuing things more driven by others rather than from within. I never deny the importance of money. Money is important, but only money is not the thing. This, a lot of people, they don't understand. They take long time to understand. So first of all, asking right questions in the form of what is that I really want in life. They may not get an immediate answer, but that should be like at the back of the mind. At the back of the mind, these questions should be there as and when they are pursuing. Same time they are pursuing whatever they are doing. They did not stop and sit down and even meditate. But these questions should be alive and there at the back of the mind, just the way when we try to solve a puzzle, how it will be there at the back of the mind. So it should be like a lingering question without trying to jump into giving any answers. Because the superficial mind gives answers which are not our answers, which are being fed by others to us, and we are like parroting, just repeating them. That is not coming from deep within. So each one we are, according to the Indian philosophy, Hindu philosophy, we believe we are not just this life. We are a continuation of millions and millions of lives. We have so much is there inside, our baggage is there. We have our aspirations, desires, experiences, everything, and we are going on, moving on. In the process of moving on, we are getting different vehicles in the form of this body. So we may get different bodies, but essentially the deep down we have so much. So that whatever comes from deep down within us, that will definitely sustain us and will take us in the right direction. So people should ask this question, what is that really I love in life? What is that really I want in life? That must be there at the back of the mind. Second, I also feel that people should start becoming more and more watchful with respect to their own inner environment. That ability to watch, ability to understand inside, that is they need to develop. If they don't develop, they are missing on the main aspect of life. Because where do people experience their thoughts, emotions, anger, love, frustrations, insecurities, fears? They're not experiencing in their little toe or knee or hip. That is being experienced somewhere in the inner environment. And if they're not sensitive to that inner environment, start recognizing different emotions arising, different moods arising, changing, different desires arising, and these different desires making us work for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So if that sensitivity is not developed, then they are living a mechanical life. They are living the life like a robo or like a machine. So it's just because some program is running them, that's all. They are not even aware of their own programs. They are not self-aware. So whereas self is self-evident. I know that I know. I cannot prove that I am, because I am, so everything proves. But so this particular thing, these two things I feel are important. One is understanding the question, asking the question that what is that really I love in life. And second one is becoming sensitive to recognize thoughts and emotions and different shades of these emotions. Sorrow, for example, if they're feeling sad, they should see the gradations of the sadness and anger. They should be able to see the difference between when they are angry, how they were, and when they're not angry, how they were. If someone can recognize this difference, like when I was angry, how I was feeling at the time, and when I'm not angry, when I'm peaceful, how I am feeling. And once one can see these two, they cannot be angry because it's a misery. Anger is miserable. So they will not justify anger. I won't shout at someone and then justify my shouting because it's actually doesn't leave any goodness to me. So this way, these I think couple of things are important. Uh, and parallelly they can do whatever they are doing, their careers and business and everything they can do.
Mm. Um, I agree, and I've had my own experience of that, and it's fascinating actually, because I feel that you're right. There's so many societal conditions that can be placed on us that we just move ahead without thought. And I know that's been my own experience in life, where I was like, did the exams, I went to the job, I got the promotion, and there was always this level of unrest. Like something in me for my life just wasn't quite happy. And so I kept searching outside of myself, and like it kept niggling, and I kept changing things, and it was still there. And when I finally did stop to ask myself, and it still happens now, like, what do I want? Sometimes there's just empty space. It's like, I don't know. And that's scary when you realize you don't know what you want. But then it's the layer deeper. It's not that we have to completely define it, but it's recognizing what brings us joy in life, what makes me approach my life more kindly, more compassionately. How do I show up as my best self, and what are the things that spark that? And it's so liberating to give yourself the permission to ask that question, because then all those unnecessary things that you're kind of reaching for and achieving and over efforting towards can actually fall away, and they don't matter so much anymore. And then that aspect of inner watching again is something I've definitely struggled with, and fine tuning to emotions that you might resist or just completely numb to, has been such a fascinating journey. And I think yoga is in all of its forms is such an amazing tool to sensitize yourself to that again. And it's the feedback, it's that constant feedback, so that you can listen to how you're actually feeling rather than thinking about how you should be feeling or what you should be doing next. But it can be difficult, to drop those questions into awareness and then find nothing returned, or you're not sure. If in a world where we want fixed answers and control, it's really hard to have that uncertainty that you have to make friends with. But yes, I think they're incredible questions to, I think, continuously contemplate through life. That's what I'm finding. I have to come back to them again, again, again.
True, very true. It's like the uncertainty, definitely, it's a challenging thing. Especially the modern time, people, they want everything quick, like instant gratification, the same thing, instant answers they want. So, but that doesn't work. With this pandemic, for example, one thing which has been forced on people is that you sit down, shut yourself and sit down, you're not allowed. But then people didn't do that. That's a different thing. So they invent different ways of not facing the uncertainty. We do need to develop these qualities of patience and facing the uncertainty. We won't get answers because these are not answers coming from outside, but they have to come from inside. And then we need to be patient. We don't need to be in a hurry to get any answers. Doesn't matter. We anyway continue what we are doing. But just this asking this question will start bringing more and more focus, and then the answers from deep within arise, and they will set the direction.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yes, I agree. It's like it's slowing down to get quiet enough to hear the impulse, to hear the guidance. Okay, so I know yoga is completely vast and complex, and there's just so many beautiful teachings. But if there was one main teaching that you could point to that you think is perhaps one of the most important things to explore within our lives, within our spiritual practice? Or your favorite part of philosophy, a nugget of wisdom, what would that potentially be?
My favorite part of the uh, teaching which I understood is that joy is our nature. Unconditional, uninterrupted joy is our nature, whether we like it or we don't like it, whether we accept or we don't accept. Some people say that no, we don't accept. I had some satsangs where 1 hour someone took away all the time of that satsang arguing with me that joy is not the nature, sorrow is the nature. So she was like very vehemently arguing that joy is not the nature, sorrow is the nature of the self. So I generally avoid any confrontations and arguments, but then it is not easy. So there can be people may accept, not accept, agree, not agree. Certain things don't change. Like some people may not like gravity, but it will be there. They may not agree to gravity, they may not care a damn for gravity, but gravity will care them and will do whatever is needed. So it's not about accepting or approving, it's about understanding and recognizing. All the laws of nature are about understanding, recognizing, and utilizing them. So joy is our nature, joy is the nature of the self. Then what about all the other emotions? They are part of our mind. They are part of the mind. That's why they are changing, they're changeable. Same situation two people are facing. One person gets super disturbed, the other person is stable and balanced. How is it possible? If the situation is going to arise, then in the same experience, like for example, heat, 40 degrees temperature, both will experience 40 degrees. One may be acclimatized to higher temperature, one may be acclimatized to low temperature. That's a different thing. But experiencing temperature will be the same. But this is not the thing. When a disturbing situation arises, one person is disturbed, the other person doesn't get disturbed. How is it possible? Because this is all change, programmable things. They are part of our mind. So all the other emotions, we are not denying them. Once we say they are part of the mind, they also become part of the body, because mind and body are intimately connected. Everything which arises in the mind leaves a trace in the body, because in the mind this is subtle. A thought is subtle, which will raise an electrical impulse in the brain, which is physical. That electrical impulse in the brain in turn will release some neurochemical or a hormone, which is physical. So there is a continuous change. But then the self is the one which is behind everything, that is me. So the nature of the self is joy. We are not experiencing it all the time, doesn't mean that it has changed. We are not experiencing all the time because we are interacting everything through our mind, and this mind is really a thing which can be reprogrammed. That is why the whole teaching makes sense. If we cannot reprogram ourselves, then the whole teaching is ridiculous, is meaningless. If we have to get continuously carried away by different emotions, moods, and everything, and if we are helpless, then this entire thing is of no use. So my main part of the teaching and understanding is that joy is the nature of the self, and we don't need any reasons to be happy, because that's our innate nature. We don't need to acquire happiness by doing something. You can be happy and then do something. We don't need to be unhappy to do something. In fact, we can be happy and doing things. So out of happiness, out of fullness, out of completeness, out of joy, we can do things instead of to become happy, to become complete. There is a big difference. Out of fulfillment and for the sake of fulfillment. So that is my main thing. If one understands this, then every situation in life becomes a practice. So, for example, when I encounter a situation where I am disturbed, I am not denying my disturbance, but then I understand that I am getting disturbed now. That means I forgot my true nature as joy, and I got carried away by this particular situation. So that remembrance itself brings me back to my state. Still, the disturbance may continue for a while, but I am like more centered. So this is my my focus, and I try to tell, share, and then try to encourage people. It's not easy, but it's not so difficult. It's not as difficult as people think. it is challenging even for me. There can be challenging situations when I get a bit carried away, but I quickly come back.
Mm, mm, mm. Um, it's also my favorite teaching. Um, and I love what you say, and it's not to deny the other feelings, and it's not that we won't get distracted or lost in those feelings sometimes, but it's how quickly we can bounce back to the truth. And so if you could offer people, I mean, there's so many ways, which is the magic of life, but for you, um, what are the best ways of remembering that part of our nature? How do we continue to touch in on that space, or even cultivate a sense of steadiness to hold ourselves within that space, even though life is going to be uncertain and fluctuate?
It's a continuous process, it's a lifelong process. So there is no magic pill there. It's not like no some miracle will happen and then that we are there already. It's not like that. It's always there. It's already there. It's a continuous process. The more we practice into that. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, knowledge and practice. First thing is I should be clear about this. If I am not clear about my true nature as joy, then I am still I'm not convinced. When we are not convinced, then we will not practice. We will practice only when we are completely we understand and have the conviction. So understanding, conviction are on one side. Then every uh, event in life, every action in life becomes uh, an opportunity to practice. It's not only on the mat, but everything in life becomes an opportunity to practice and then to keep coming back. So we need to remember. So remember how we will remember anything else. The same principle. For example, if I have to remember something, I am going to the bank. Today I was going to the bank. I have to remember some code. So how we will remember? I have to keep on repeating it till I remember it, or I have to note it down somewhere and keep it. So the same thing, like I have to remember someone, I have to remember some task which I have to do. So how we will do? We set a reminder, or we have to the same principle. We need to keep remembering, but here the remembrance is in real life. When we are actually facing situations, that is the time when we have to remember. It is exactly like if I have to remember that code, I have to remember the code when I'm going to open the locker. That is exactly the time. I may remember before, I may remember after, it is of no use. So even I have to remember that my true nature is joy when I am interacting with others, interacting with situations. Because that is when the whole thing, the growth happens only in relationship. We grow in relationships, we grow in when we are interacting with others, with human beings, with animals, with the nature around and everything. When no one is around, then we are interacting with ourselves, with our memories. So that there also we need to remember, because many times people get carried away by their memories and they feel bad about what happened few years before, which has no sense now, which has no meaning. They keep on thinking about, oh, I should not have done this, I should have done this person should not have done this to me. So that is the time we need to remember this. So it is a process, but the more we start remembering this and practicing, the more it becomes easier and easier as time progresses.
Mm, mm, mm. I like that. It's a process. I think I think we often need to hear that, because we like the quick fix, or we want to get somewhere fast. I think recognizing that it's a process allows us space for how hopelessly human we can be, so that we continue the process, so that we don't feel disheartened maybe when we have lost that sense of joy, that we know that we can keep coming back to that which is already there. Um, Amazing. Okay, so Sudhir and I, we're doing this slightly differently. So usually with the podcast, I've asked someone to bring an offering to the table first. But Sudhir, and one of my favorite memories in India is where we would gather in community, and Sudhir would offer his wisdom, much like this, and we just get to chat about life and spirituality and explore in a way that you're both held, but also held to question, and to be explorative, and sometimes to be challenged in our notions. And so we're going to be doing a live satsang that's offered as a donation based. All donations will be put forwards to two charities in India that Sudhir supports. But for those that haven't been part of something like satsang before, I would love if you could give some insight into what this is, and what does it offer people, what is its intention, and why might they like to seek such an offering.
Yes, satsang means association with the truth. Sat means truth. Sangha is association. So satsanga or satsang means association with the truth, which literally means more discussion about the truth of ourselves, the truth of everything, discussions about that. So in olden days, they used to have this format which is more open-ended. Because when they used to teach, say, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and all, it is like take a text, go verse by verse and explain. So it's like a more direction oriented approach. Whereas in satsang, it used to be more explorative in terms of asking questions and then debating and trying to understand. So there is more openness with respect to a particular topic or a group of topics, small things. So that way, satsang, actually satsangs are the occasions where a lot of questions come up, where people can ask more freely. So in ashrams, when we used to be there, satsangs are the places where a lot of discussions happen, a lot of beautiful questions, which in classroom settings, they don't feel like asking or cannot ask somehow. So it's a more a free environment. So we can have a topic and then go on it, or it can be a general satsang. But mainly the content will be connected to our life.
Amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be towards the end of August. All the details will be in the description. So it'll be a live event for you to join and to gather and to ask questions. It's also something that will be recorded and then later available on the on-demand library. So wrapping up slightly, something I asked, and we've touched on this already a lot because I know it's your favorite aspect of yoga to explore, but I would love to know for you personally what joy looks like and feels like. And in those moments, if that even happens anymore, where you feel that distancing or the separation from joy or the forgetfulness, what are your personal means to kind of reclaiming that innate sense of joy?
What does joy look like?
Feel like for you.
Joy looks like the self. Joy looks like being natural. When we are joyful, we are natural. Very simple thing. When you are spending time with your friends on a weekend, 4 or 5 hours will fly away and they don't even realize. And suddenly they will say, oh my God, 4 hours went away. 4 o'clock in the morning, I have to go back to my room. What happened in this time? That is joy. Whereas when someone is going through insecurity, fear, anxiety, worry, 1 minute looks like 1 hour. It is not natural. So joy is natural. So when we are in our natural, we will be at ease. We will be peaceful, we will be at ease, and we will be natural. The time flies. So that is why they say that, in heaven, time flies. So heaven is not something, literally to be taken like that. So joy is when we are at ease and we have a sense of clarity inside, and we are very open, liberal at that time, not being judgmental at that time. When we are really joyful, we won't be judgmental. We won't be gossiping. We won't be complaining. We won't be criticizing. We will be in a state of joy. So pure state of joy is most beautiful and most natural. Unfortunately, we are little deviated from it due to so many million reasons. So whenever I am out of it, I remember and get back to that. So just remembrance and getting back to it. Sometimes it takes time, no pressure there. do recognize. When the sky is too cloudy, then it takes some time to experience the sun. So we have to wait. Sometimes we need to have patience for the clouds to get cleared. So even the inner clouds can be there sometimes due to the external situations. Then remembering that the sun is shining brightly behind the clouds and then being a little bit patient, the clouds will go away.
I feel like I needed to hear that. I love that so much because I'm definitely like, I have the belief. I know that joy is inherent to my nature. I know it's there. But in the moments I feel overwhelmed or maybe I feel a bit of sorrow in the system, I'm not patient. I'm like, I want to fix it. I want the clouds to go. So yeah, next time if it happens, I'll wait for the clouds to pass. I'll be patient. I'll be the sky.
Yes, you be the sky and the sun.
And the sun, yeah. Beautiful analogy. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and time. One thing I also love to do at the end is just offer some space if you would like to invite any people to some offerings or anything you've got coming up. I know you've very excitedly opened Sthira Yoga School, and I know that there will be some trainings coming up. But anything else you have that you would like to invite people towards if they, wish to find you and dive into some more of your magic?
Yeah, yeah, I would like to invite people to look into the website and then courses, different courses I'm offering and pranayama, meditation, yoga nidra, philosophy. So if people are interested, they can look into the website and then sthirayoga.com. So then if they have any questions, then I can explain. And
yeah, perfect. And Sudhir also has a podcast you can find on Spotify that's available. I highly recommend it. I sometimes spend my mornings drinking cacao or coffee listening to his wisdom. And the two of us also have a couple of retreats planned for 2022 summer. They're going to be deep dives, so we're looking at about 10 days, and it's for practitioners or teachers alike, anyone who's looking to dive a little deeper into their practice, really with the intention of something that Sudhir's already touched upon, this idea of bringing knowledge and practice together so that it becomes embodied. And so everything that we do will be taking obviously core elements of yoga philosophy that Sudhir wishes to share, and then everything else that's based around that will be used as a way to support and integrate and to fully allow that wisdom to come alive within you so that practice is infused into life. It's something that allows you to step out and live more fully. I think that's everything. Anything else?
I also would like to thank you, Rishi, because thank you for not just organizing this alone, but you will be teaching in the courses on Sthira Yoga. So you will be doing the teacher trainings. We will be doing teacher trainings together. Only thing is we are waiting for things to become normal. So the courses, the physical courses, Sthira Yoga will be in Goa, North Goa. So we are waiting for things to become normal. And then thanks for accepting to be a part of our team.
Oh my goodness, pleasure. I'm so excited. And yeah, for anyone who's been waiting to do a training, I couldn't recommend a thing more. Goa is beautiful. Yeah, and it's such a wonderful thing to dive into. So yes, we're waiting for things to lift and for travel to be more spacious and the green light. And then we'll be there waiting for you. And yeah, we really look forward to holding that space for you to dive in. Cool.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks for this wonderful, amazing opportunity. Also, happy to have seen you and chatted with you with your nice bandana and you're growing. So that's very nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll be back next month with another guest. See you soon.
Thanks to everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.